I want you to welcome one of the greatest mayors in the world, our mayor, the mayor of New York City, Michael R. Bloomberg.
Bishop, thank you, Bishop, for that. You should know that the Bishop and I made a pact recently. I agreed, and I didn't think I'd have to be here, because the deal was that I would come to speak if the Giants would win one game. But here I am. All kidding aside, I hope the Giants go all the way from now on. I don't know if that gets them into anything, but they're a great team and they're great people. And it just goes to show you in sports, you never know any given Sunday. Anyways, this is not a Sunday. This is a privilege and a pleasure because the East River Development Alliance is doing such great work in our city. And I was pleased when the bishop called. And he didn't ask me to come. Truth of the matter is he told me to come. This organization just does some great work, and work that our administration has been proud to be a part of for all these years. 3 years ago, I stood with Bishop Taylor to launch the Alliance's Federal Credit Union, which is helping more than 1,000 residents of Queens take control of their family finances and their financial future. We've been partners in preparing New Yorkers for success in college and connecting them to good jobs. More applause. We've also worked side by side to strengthen public housing communities, and that couldn't be more important. You know, NYCHA's developments around the city are homes to nearly 500,000 New Yorkers, and other cities around the country have turned their backs on public housing and even torn it down. You keep seeing these pictures of them blowing up these buildings. But in New York, we're not doing that, not on our watch. We're going in the other direction. And last month, NYCHA Chairman John Rea and I announced an investment of nearly $750 million to preserve and repair NYCHA housing. And that's adding to the unprecedented investment that NYCHA has made in the last few years, repairing buildings and apartments and all the work that we had to do after Hurricane Sandy. The truth of the matter with public housing is the federal government has pulled away from giving any support, and the state government of New York has basically pulled away from giving any support. And New York City taxpayers, we're here and we said we're not going to walk away from NYCHA housing. We're not going to wait for those that need help. And so the people of this city have dug into their pockets. And NYCHA housing is not as great as we want to be. We've got to find other ways to support it. But you have my commitment, at least for the next 68 days, we are not walking away from NYCHA housing. And incidentally, 68 days from now, I will be unemployed. So if anybody's got any ideas, I do work for $1 a year, so salary shouldn't be the problem. Anyways, there's still plenty of work to do, and we're lucky to have the Alliance as an important partner in that work. And the good thing to look at is just what's happening in Hallett's Point, Queens. And that's home of NYCHA's Astoria Houses, a community that's been a big beneficiary of this organization's programs. The City Council just approved a major redevelopment plan for Hallett's Point, and our administration has supported that. And that will bring new jobs, new businesses, new transportation, and a beautiful new waterfront park to residents of Astoria Houses. It'll also bring new affordable housing to that neighborhood. And I will say, none of this would have happened without Bishop Taylor's leadership, and we really have to thank him for that. Just last week, we also announced the $24 million expansion of the Jobs Plus Employment and Training Program in NYCHA developments around the city. People have to be able to get a job and have the dignity of being self-employed and self-supported. And that's what our commitment is to do. We have helped place more than 4,400 NYCHA residents in jobs and provided thousands more with financial support and career counseling. And that includes an expansion of the East River Development Alliance's Job Plus site in Queens. And it's part of our groundbreaking work for our Young Men's Initiative, the most ambitious effort I think any city has ever undertaken to improve chances of success for young Black and Latino men. And George Soros, I don't know how many of you know who George Soros is, but he's a very wealthy guy here. I had a lunch with him, and I asked him for $30 million privately so we could support this Young Men's Initiative. It was one of the most expensive lunches I've ever had because while I got it, I had to match him. And then I think he stuck me with the check. Anyways. All kidding aside, we put $60 million of private money and $60 million of public monies into doing something to help these kids get their lives back on track and get them back as part of the society, as producing members and productive members of society, rather than somebody that is always going to be a problem for society. We cannot walk away from these kids either. And one of the things I'm most proud of, we brought crime down dramatically in the last dozen years. But one of the things we've done at the same time is we incarcerate a third fewer people today than we did 10 years ago. And that really means a third of these kids who are going to be out in the streets. And lastly, I just wanted to point out that under the leadership of Small Business Services Commissioner Rob Walsh, who's with us tonight, we've also transformed our Workforce One job program from 3 centers serving 500 people, which it was back in 2002, to 17 centers that have helped connect New Yorkers to more than 100,000 jobs in the last 5 years. And that includes job seekers at the Alliance Workforce One Career Center in Queens, which is our newest center in Far Rockaway, which we asked the Alliance to operate, and we're working hard to expand that. Crime is down 31% since '01 in northern Queens, where the Alliance work. It's down even more, 42%. Across the city, we've had record low numbers of murders and shootings, and our graduation rates are up by nearly 40%, and the dropout rate has fallen dramatically. So I really do think our city's future has enormous potential. We're very grateful for what this organization does, and without organizations like this and others, the city government can't do everything. This is where the rubber meets the road, where people really find out what the needs are of individuals and provide the services. So let me just do one more time thank Bishop Taylor, applaud him and his team at the East River Development Corporation. And thank you all for supporting him. God bless. Have a nice evening.